The day began with a boom, not of thunder or gunfire, but of a heartbreak shattering openly across the camp as the old woman's cry ripped through the morning air. At 80, her voice was thin yet fierce, trembling with a pain that felt older than her bones. She clutched the edge of her blanket, whispering that no man wanted her daughter, and the world suddenly felt smaller for them both. The daughter sat beside her, 28 and worn from years of quiet disappointments she rarely named aloud. She had learned long ago that silence protected her from mockery, yet it also built walls that no suitor bothered to climb. Every rejection carved new shadows in her heart, and though she carried herself with steady grace, she felt the weight of her mother's sorrow settle over her like a final judgment. Nearby, the younger women prepared for their upcoming unions, laughing softly as they braided ribbons into one another's hair. The daughter watched without bitterness, only a quiet ache that throbbed beneath her ribs. She knew she was not unwanted for lack of beauty, but for the depth she carried like an inconvenient truth. Men desired stories that made them heroes, she offered truth that made them human, and they fled from it. Her mother had spent years trying to barter hope, arranging meetings with men from nearby settlements, but each encounter dissolved into hollow politeness. The last suitor had not even stayed long enough to drink the water he was offered. The old woman felt humiliation bloom inside her like a wildfire she could not extinguish. She feared dying before her daughter found a hand willing to hold hers. That morning, the daughter tried again to soothe her, brushing silver hair from her mother's brow, but the old woman pulled away, ashamed of her own despair. She murmured that she had failed as a mother, that she could not bear watching men overlook a heart so kind. The daughter swallowed her pain, offering a soft assurance she barely believed, hoping it would quiet the storm rising behind her mother's eyes. Seeking a moment to breathe, the daughter stepped away from the camp and walked toward the dry riverbed, where once water had run with the clarity she longed for in her own life. She traced her fingers along the cracked earth, wondering whether she too had become a place people passed by without pausing. The silence comforted her, even as it reminded her of everything she feared becoming. When she returned, a small crowd had gathered, whispering about a stranger seen riding down the distant trail. Outsiders were rare, and hope startled the old woman back into alertness. She rose shakily, adjusting her shawl as though preparing to meet fate itself. The daughter felt her chest tighten, unsure whether to dread or welcome whatever approached. Life had taught her that unexpected arrivals often carried unexpected wounds. Moments later, the stranger appeared between the sagebrush, a lone cowboy with dust clinging to his boots and a quiet steadiness in his posture. He did not ride with the arrogance common to wanderers. He approached as though mindful of every gaze falling upon him. The old woman stiffened, hope and fear tangled inside her. The daughter stayed behind the others, observing him with a guarded heart. When the cowboy dismounted, he greeted the elders first, bowing his head with a gentleness rarely found in men hardened by the frontier. His voice held no hunger, no haste, only a respectful calm that made several villagers exchange puzzled looks. The daughter watched his hands, steady and unthreatening. Her mother stood trembling beside him, unable to restrain the confession that had been burning in her chest since morning. She told him that no man wanted her daughter, that she feared leaving this world with the girl still standing alone. The words trembled out of her like a long-held storm finally breaking open. The cowboy did not flinch. Instead he lifted his gaze toward the daughter with a quiet recognition, as though he had been searching for her through miles of dust. The old woman felt her breath catch, unsure what his eyes meant for her. The boom came not as sound but as a truth breaking open inside the daughter when the cowboy's gaze met hers, steady as if he had carried her name in his mind long before arriving. The camp still held the mother's confession like smoke refusing to lift. The daughter felt exposed, fragile, waiting for the familiar sting of dismissal. Yet something in the cowboy's posture suggested he was not a man who turned away easily, even from difficult truths. He approached the old woman with a quiet respect that unsettled the air around them. His voice carried no pity, only gratitude for the honesty she had given him. The mother blinked at his tone, unsure how to hold such gentleness. The daughter watched his movements, wary yet drawn toward the sincerity shaping them. She braced for rejection, but his gaze softened rather than shifted away. He told the mother he did not see a woman unwanted by men, he saw a life shaped by silence, endurance, and unseen strength. His words felt deliberate, formed by a man who understood what it meant to be overlooked for the wrong reasons. Something inside the daughter trembled, not with fear but with the shock of being spoken about with dignity. The villagers exchanged glances, uncertain how to absorb this unexpected reverence. The cowboy then asked permission to share words with the daughter, not in secrecy but in simple respect. The old woman nodded, though her hands shook with hope she no longer trusted. The daughter followed him toward the cedar trees, each step carrying the weight of her guarded heart. The air felt different there, quieter. She sensed he carried his own bruises, though he offered no explanations yet. He told her he once loved someone who cherished admiration more than constancy, leaving wounds he learned to hide. He confessed this without embellishment, letting truth stand on its own legs. The daughter listened, surprised by the balance between his humility and his steadiness. She sensed they shared a kind of loneliness shaped by being misread. Their unspoken understanding deepened without effort. When she finally spoke, her words emerged carefully, shaped by years of quiet endurance. She admitted that rejection had taught her to shrink herself, fearing pity more than solitude. He did not interrupt, allowing her voice to grow stronger as she continued. His patience moved her more deeply than any flattering phrase. Something softened inside her, though she fought to keep her guard intact. By the time they returned, villagers watched with an attentive hush, unsure whether the moment signaled hope or heartbreak. The mother clutched her shawl, praying the spirits would not betray her aging heart. The cowboy walked with a respectful distance beside the daughter, as though refusing to claim anything he had not earned. She felt her pulse steadying in his presence, surprised that comfort could grow so quietly. He asked the mother if he might remain among them for a while. He spoke of wanting to understand the daughter beyond first impressions, to learn her rhythms and sorrows without rushing. His request unsettled the villagers, who had grown accustomed to men seeking quick answers or easy gain. The mother studied him with a lifetime of caution, weighing sincerity against the ghosts of broken promises. In the daughter, hope and disbelief twisted together. She felt the stir of something tender rising, though fear clung stubbornly to its edges. She wondered whether he meant every word or whether fate was playing another cruel trick. Yet when she looked at him, she saw no hunger for possession, only a man choosing to stay when he could easily ride away. The mother finally granted her blessing, whispering that time would reveal truth more clearly than fear. The cowboy bowed his head, accepting the responsibility with quiet gravity. The daughter's breath hitched, sensing her life shifting in ways she could not articulate. But as the cowboy lifted his eyes again, a shadow flickered through them, brief, but unmistakable. It hinted at a past he had not spoken of, a truth capable of undoing everything they had begun to hope for.